I spent 3,473 hours studying LinkedIn, posting, testing, and analyzing every strategy on the platform. And I'll be honest, most of the so-called viral hacks you see online don't actually work. They might get you one viral post, but they won't build consistent reach, authority, or inbound leads. Over the past year, I've tested every strategy you can imagine, and out of all of them, only a few of them actually move the needle. So instead of you having to figure it out all on your own, I'm going to show you the 9 unusual algorithm hacks that helped me grow to over 57,000 followers. And these are the same strategies I use with my founder clients to generate millions in reach and actually turn those views into leads. This video will help you understand how LinkedIn actually works and how you can engineer your content in order to drive better results. Because at the end of this video, I'll show you the algorithm hack that almost nobody is talking about, but it's the reason some posts get no views and others go viral. And I'm actually going to show you these algorithm hacks by analyzing a post of mine so that you can literally pick up these strategies and start to apply them to your own content. Now, this post of mine it's a pretty good piece of content. It's done all right. It's done 14,000 impressions, and it actually generated a few leads for me. So it's not crazy viral. You know, some of my content will get north of 100,000 views. This post, it's done all right. It's done pretty good, but this is actually something that generated leads for my business as well. And there are 9 strategies within this that I'm going to break down. And it starts off with this at the top here, which is using how I. Now, there's a big difference between how I content and how to content. How to content is pretty generic. Anyone could publish it, and there's no real reason to listen to you specifically. But how I content is much stronger. Instantly, within the first 2 words of the post here, I'm telling people that I have actually done this in practice. This is something that I have done. And the fact that I have actually done this gives me a lot of credibility. And because I now have credibility, it gives people a reason to listen to me, a reason to actually stick around and consume this content. They're far more likely to consume this post now because they see me as someone they can trust, somebody worth listening to. See, the messenger matters, right? Who says something matters just as much as what they say. So if you want people to listen to what you have to say, you have to be seen as somebody worth listening to. And shifting from how to how I is one of the best and most simple ways to do that. Instantly, people see me as a person of authority as they read this post. So for you, you need to be talking about content through lived experience or results that you have actually achieved in the real world. That's going to instantly improve the performance of your posts. I then share that this is my 7-step system. This is another algorithm hack because by condensing the information that I have into a step-by-step system, I'm increasing the perceived value of it. Because rather than just sharing a load of complex information that's all over the place, I'm putting it into a structure that people can follow along with really easy, but actually then implement. And because it feels more actionable, people perceive the value of it to be far higher, and they perceive my expertise to be really strong. Okay, so by sharing it as a system or a framework, you are increasing the perceived value of the content you share and therefore the number of people that actually consume it. So you want to share your content in terms of processes, systems, frameworks, rather than just giving people information. What I then do when I share this 7-step system is I signpost all the way through. So you can see here I've got the numbers illustrated by the emojis. Now you could use emojis. It's not really the emojis isn't really the point, right? If you just use emojis, that's fine. It's more about signposting. So you could use numbers. Even you can see with the headings here, it's very clearly signposted as people go through. They know what they're getting. They know where they are in the post. So it's not just about putting in emojis and expecting to instantly get better results. It's signposting the value you're sharing throughout the post so that people always know where they're at. And you can see this follows throughout the whole 7 steps, all the way down. You constantly get a sense as to where you're at. There's a clear heading for each section. What someone could quite feasibly do is they could actually just scan each of these headings, and there would be value in that. They would actually get some value just from doing that. So signposting the value you're sharing is really, really important to make sure that people actually realize what you're sharing. The worst thing in the world is to provide loads and loads of value, but then people actually don't realize there's value there and they don't end up consuming it. What a waste of time. So you need to signpost the value you're sharing. Use numbered lists, use clear headings, whatever format you use, just make it clear for people that this is what they're reading first, then this is what they're reading next, and so on. You've got to signpost the value you share. There's something quite subtle as we go through this post as well, actually. There's this line here which says, after 40,000 posts, I know what works. Now, this is the kind of thing that a lot of people will miss, but will actually take your authority to a completely new level and help you drive leads from your content. As people are going through this, they read this line, after 40,000 posts, I know what works. And that tells them that me and my team, we've written 40,000 pieces of content. Now for me, I want to write really engaging content that goes viral, but also generates leads for my business. So I want my readers to think, Sam really knows what he's talking about, Sam's experienced, Sam's got a good track record, these sorts of things, right? So leaving a line like this, which is almost like a throwaway comment, it's very subtle, very casual, tells people that actually this is something I do for a living and I've done it 40,000 times. I'm probably pretty good at it by this point. If you've done something 40,000 times, you tend to get quite good at it. So this is very subtle authority signaling. Okay, so this is called authority signaling. And you want to make sure as you do this, it's almost casual, nonchalant, kind of throwaway comments. If you try too hard to do this, it's going to come across the wrong way. You're going to seem desperate or maybe just a bit brash or too promotional. But having these sorts of authority signals subtly embedded throughout the post, it seems a lot more casual and almost like you don't care, but has a much more powerful effect. So you can embed these throughout the middle of your content to remind people of your authority as you go through. So this is called authority signaling, another way that I use the algorithm to increase the performance of this post. As we scroll down to the bottom, there's another one here, which is leveraging the PS section. The PS section is a hugely underrated part of the post. Actually, in emails, PS sections are the most read part of the emails after the subject line. And it's similar in your post as well. You can actually include PS sections that are far more likely to get read than the rest of the post. And I've actually used this to even further on the authority that I'm signaling, but you could use your PS section to just leave a completely random comment about your personality that people will latch onto. Like the other day I used my coffee order. I share what my coffee order is. And everyone in the comments was just saying what their coffee order was. Easy way to get more comments. You could use it to add further value. So you could add like a pro tip or a bonus. You could add a call to action in there. There are loads of things you can use in the PS section, but it's one of the most read parts of the post. So you need to use it wisely. Here, I've decided to use even more authority signaling. I say that Satwik, who's our head of strategy at the company, ran the numbers. Our clients are averaging 484% growth in their first month. So again, that's showing some of the results we're achieving, it's building up our credibility and authority. Again, seems pretty casual, right? Doesn't seem like I'm trying too hard to convince people. Seems like a bit of a throwaway comment, but it's very, very deliberate and intentional. So make sure you're using the PS section. And then we come on to the creative. And there are a few things I've done in the creative that are really, really interesting that not many people are actually doing. The first is I used what's called complementary creative. Complementary creative. So this creative here makes sense on its own. Right? You could just see this quote and it makes sense on its own. But it adds even more value when it's paired with the piece of content. So your creative it's going to be an image, it could be a video, it could be a carousel, it could be a graphic, it could be a quote, whatever it is. You want to make sure it supplements the copy, so the text that you actually share. Now here's the thing, someone could read just this copy and they could get value out of this piece of content. Without even seeing the image, they'd get a lot of value out of seeing this content. Equally though, they might just see this image. They might not actually read the body of the content. They might think, too long, don't have time, that's fine. They might just see the image though, and they can still get some value out of it. They see that every market is becoming crowded, but no one can replicate you. So they see that quote. Sure, that's not going to provide as much value as reading the full post, but it might just be a little light bulb that goes off inside their head. And they might think, yeah, do you know what? I'll leave a like. Or they might comment something in relation to this quote here. So this quote makes sense on its own. If they just read the quote and didn't read the content, it would still make sense. Equally, if they just read the content without seeing this quote, it would make sense. So I've got two opportunities to capture people here. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll just post text-only content, which is not necessarily a bad thing. There are some times where text-only does work, but you're missing out on that second opportunity to capture engagement from the large proportion of your audience that realistically probably won't read the whole thing. So adding complementary creative allows you to capture that. What a lot of other people do, if they've actually included creative, is they'll make them so closely tied so that maybe they'll share a video that only makes sense if you read the copy. And then you're requiring people to do both. Actually, you want to just allow for people to do one or the other. Some people will do both, sure, but it's a much smaller percentage of people. So using complementary creative massively drives up the number of people that could actually engage in your post. If I didn't have this here, what would happen is a lot of people would see this, maybe not actually be bothered to read it and scroll on. And I've missed out on that opportunity to get engagement. Of course, what I really want is lots and lots of my ICP reading the whole post. That's definitely what I want. But I have to accept that some people just are not going to do that. So I have a decision. I can either just forget about those people and pretend they don't exist, or I can add a small quote into the end that captures those people, gets them to like the post, and puts it in front of more people that will read the full thing. So complementary creative, really, really important way to drive up the performance on your post. I've also used a call to action here. So call to action, really, really important for getting people to actually take the action you want. So I want people to repost, and you can see 10 people have reposted here, which again is not enormous, but it's 10 more people reposting this than I probably would have had if I didn't tell people to repost it. Simply by reminding people or telling them what you want them to do, they're far more likely to actually do it than if you just expect them to without asking. Simply making the ask, even if you don't give a reason, will increase the number of people that actually do it. So if you want more reposts, tell people to repost it. It's really that simple. If you want more likes or more comments, tell people to do that. So simply adding in a really simple call to action into creative here has got me 10 reposts, which has put my content in front of lots more people. I've also used eye-catching imagery. Okay, so the imagery you use is really important here. This sort of image is, first it stands out in the feed. You can picture this amongst the kind of blue and white of LinkedIn, massively stands out in the feed. So it's eye-catching instantly. It uses a personal image of me, so there's an image of me in my face, which naturally, as humans, our eyes are drawn to. And this is a really simple way to capture attention. It adds no additional value to the content, but it increases the number of people that might stop on that content and then read the quote, and then maybe read the rest of the content. So we're simply trying to get people's attention to focus it in on the rest of what we're sharing, right? The image itself doesn't really add any value, but that's okay. It's purely to get people to see the value that is there. Adding imagery, really, really important. Make sure it's eye-catching, use human faces where you can. And the final algorithm hack, which is the one that nobody seems to really pay attention to, but actually is the reason why some people are able to build massively successful LinkedIn profiles, grow lots and lots of followers, but also generate leads and opportunities from their personal brand, is speaking directly to a very specific audience whilst catering to the masses. And I do that in this post here. Now, what I mean by this is, what I really want from this post is our ICP, so entrepreneurs, execs, typically with 5 to 10 years experience, who want to build their personal brand and become the authority in their space, but don't have the time to do it themselves. Those are the people that I want to read this post and go, Sam really knows what he's talking about. I should work with Kurogo. That's what I want out of this. I want as many of those people as possible to do that. But I have to accept again that not everyone in my network will fit that criteria. And what a lot of people do is they almost disregard that audience that are not going to buy from them. You have to accept that probably 60% of your audience are never going to buy from you. And that's totally okay. For example, there might be a 19-year-old student that's just trying to get their first job by building their personal brand. They're not going to become a client of mine, at least not for 5-10 years anyway. So I've got, again, a choice. I can completely disregard those people, or I can at least cater to them, and therefore get them to read the post, engage, and potentially put it in front of someone else that could become a client. And that's the thing that a lot of people forget. They're focusing so much on just speaking to their ICP all the time. Yes, you absolutely want to speak to your ICP, and this post is written specifically for the busy exec. It's to build authority and demonstrate expertise to the busy exec or entrepreneur that I want to trust my agency to help them build their personal brand. 100% it is. But it's also relevant to everyone else as well. So even if you're not in that audience, you can still engage and therefore put it in front of someone that would potentially become a client. And the reason it caters to the masses is because around a topic that pretty much everyone on LinkedIn is interested in. Building a profitable LinkedIn account. If you're scrolling LinkedIn, why would you not want to make money from your LinkedIn, right? A lot of people on the platform are going to be interested in that. Sure, there's some people that won't, but there's a mass audience that would be interested in this. Other topics that you can do this with, things like leadership, things like management are very common ones to do. But to be honest, you can actually turn any topic into something that is interesting to the masses just by changing the angle on it. So it's really important to, yes, speak to your ICP, speak directly and specifically to one target audience, but also cater to the fact that not everyone seeing this post is going to fit that audience and fit that criteria. And you're going to lose that engagement if you don't cater to them. You need to actually make it easy for people that don't fit your ICP to comment or like so that it reaches more of your ICP. That's the thing that most people seem to forget when it comes to posting content and building their personal brand. But it's the thing that all of the biggest accounts are using to grow into hundreds of thousands of followers whilst also generating opportunities from their personal brand. And those are the 9 algorithm hacks that I used in this post to generate 16,000 views or 14,000 views, but also quite a few leads off the back of this piece of content as well. And guys, this is just one part of our system. You can see here all of the content that I'm going to be sharing over the next few weeks. There's loads more of this that I'm going to be breaking down. So if you want more content just like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video.